ഷിബു നിങ്ങളൊന്ന് സംസാരിക്കോ?
ഹലോ ഹലോ ഹലോ
Wait, we need a response from Secretary's office.
പ്രവരെ ഓക്കെയാണ് കട്ട് ചെയ്തോളൂ. മ്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്യും.
ഹലോ ഹലോ
സ്പീക്കറിന്റെ ഫ്രണ്ടിലോ
ഓഡിയോ കെട്ടണം പറയുമ്പോ ബാക്കി മാത്രം ആവശ്യമുള്ളൂ.
Namaskaram and good morning, everyone. I, Benazir Nazim Nawaz, on behalf of Kudumbashree, welcome you all to Kerala and to this August gathering. As a part of the inaugural session, we bring forward a rendition of the Kudumbashree song performed by the talented group of Rangashri. This song captures the essence of Kudumbashree's journey of empowering women and uplifting marginalized communities. As the performers take the stage, their voices will resonate with passion, spreading the message of resilience and progress. Come, let us be a part of this journey. തിരിച്ചറിയുന്നു നാം ശ്രീ ആകാശം തിരിച്ചറിയും നാമൊന്നായി തിരിച്ചറിയുന്നു നാമൊന്ന് ആദിയകൻ വാദിക്കുൾ ജീവിതമൊരു തിരിച്ചു തുറന്നു ചലിക്കുന്നു ഇത് പുതുതായി പാതിയടച്ചൊരു വാക്കിൽ പാലിക്കുൾ ജീവിതം ഒരു ലോകം തിരിച്ചു തുറന്നു ചലിക്കുന്നു ഇത് പുതുകാലം ചലിക്കുന്നു ഇത് പുതുകാലം ചലിക്കുന്നു ഇത് പുതുകാലം ശ്രീ ആകാശം തിരിച്ചറിയും നാം ഒന്നായി തിരിച്ചറിയുന്നു നാം ഒന്നായി അടുക്കളകൾ വെള്ളയുതിക്കും മുമ്പയുടെ കലം കൊന്നെങ്ങും അടുക്കളകൾ എന്നും പാതിര നേരം എണ്ണിത്തീരാ പണി മാത്രം എന്നും പാതിര നേരം എണ്ണിത്തീരാ പണി മാത്രം എന്നിട്ടും എന്നിട്ടും പണിയൊന്നും ഇല്ലയും പതിവായി ദാരിദ്ര്യം ഒന്നും കയ്യിലും ദാരിദ്ര്യം ജന്മം പെണ്ണിന് ദാരിദ്ര്യം ജന്മം പെണ്ണിന് ദാരിദ്ര്യം ആകാശം തിരിച്ചറിയും നാം ഒന്നായി തിരിച്ചറിയുന്നു നാം ഒന്നായി ഇന്നു തുടങ്ങിയതാണ് ഈ സ്ത്രീ ശാക്തീകരണം നാടും നഗരവും എന്നില്ലാതെ വളർന്നു തുടങ്ങി അയൽക്കൂട്ടം ആലപ്പുഴയിൽ നീ തുടങ്ങിയതാണ് ഈ സ്ത്രീ ശാക്തീകരണം നാടും നഗരവും എന്നില്ലാതെ വളർന്നു തുടങ്ങി അയൽക്കൂട്ടം സാമൂഹികവും സാമ്പത്തികവും ഉയർന്നൊരു സാമൂഹികവും സാമ്പത്തികവും ഉയർന്നൊരു ലോക മാതൃകയായി കേരളം എന്നതൊരു ലോകത്തിന്റെ മാതൃകയായി കേരളം എന്നതൊരു ാണ് ആകാശ യാതിരുകളെന്ന് തിരിച്ചറിയുന്നു നാം ഒന്നായി തിരിച്ചറിയുന്നു നാം ഒന്ന് പ്രാദേശിക ഭരണ പകുതി സ്ത്രീകൾ തന്നുടെ നേതൃത്വം പ്രാദേശിക ഭരണ പകുതി സ്ത്രീകൾ തന്നുടെ നേതൃത്വം നാട്ടിൻ വികസന മേഖല മുഴുവൻ സ്ത്രീകളുടെ സാന്നിധ്യം നാട്ടിൻ വികസന മേഖല മുഴുവൻ സ്ത്രീകളുടെ സാന്നിധ്യം വരെ തോട്ടുകൾ വരെ ശുചിത്വം കുടുംബശ്രീ തൻകര നഗരം ശുചിത്വം കുടുംബശ്രീ തൻകര കുടുംബശ്രീ തൻകര ശ്രീ ആകാശം അതിരുകളിൽ തിരിച്ചറിയുന്നു നാം ഒന്നായി തിരിച്ചറിയുന്നു നാം ഒന്നാം പെണ്ണിന് പിൻകുത്തി എന്നോദിയ പെണ്ണിന് പെണ്ണിന് ഒടിഞ്ഞവരെല്ലാം എവിടെ പോയി പെണ്ണിന് ഒടിഞ്ഞവരെല്ലാം എവിടെ നാടിൻ രക്ഷനാട് നാടിൻ നാളെ കുടുംബശ്രീ നാടിൻ രക്ഷനാട് നാടിൻ നാളെ കുടുംബശ്രീ ഉദിച്ചതോരം പോലും മടക്കമില്ല കുടുംബശ്രീ ഉദിച്ചതോരം പോലും മടക്കമില്ല കുടുംബശ്രീ മടക്കമില്ല കുടുംബശ്രീ മടക്കമില്ല കുടുംബശ്രീ മടക്കമില്ല കുടുംബശ്രീ Thank you for the beautiful depiction of Kudumbashree's journey of 25 years. Bear with us while we clear the stage for the inaugural session. Moving forward, today we have all gathered here for the National Workshop on Universalization of PRI-CBO Convergence project. 10 years ago, a nationwide movement to promote convergence was set in motion with primary focus on citizen centric governance, improved service delivery, and ensuring rights and access to entitlements to all. The objective of this workshop is to provide a platform for all the participants gathered here to share their valuable experiences in implementing PRI-CBO Convergence project. By sharing the learning from one another, we can find effective approaches, innovative practices, and solution to our common challenges faced during the implementation. As a part of this workshop, we have also organized an exposure visit to the panchayats in Kerala that will allow us to witness the impact of the model on governance, community participation, and livelihood promotion. This workshop also aims to initiate a strong and effective engagement between representatives from Ministry of Panchayati Raj, Ministry of Rural Development, State Rural Livelihood Missions, National Institute of Rural Development, and State Institute of Rural Development to address the challenges that lie ahead and develop a unified approach for the PRI-CBO convergence model. I take this opportunity to formally invite Ms. Smriti Sharan, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India, to grace the dais with her presence. Ma'am, please. I would request Sri S. M. Vijayanand sir, former Chief Secretary, Government of Kerala, to please join us on the stage. I now invite Sri Prasad Rao Vadarapu, CEO, Tripura Rural Livelihood Mission, to join the dais. I would like to invite Sri Imtinella, Mission Director and Joint Secretary, Rural Development, Nagaland, to join us. I take up this opportunity to invite Srimati Krishna Barua, State Mission Director, Assam, to join us. I invite Madam Smriti Sharan, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India, to grace the dais. I also request Ms. Usharani, Team Lead, National Rural Livelihood Mission, to also join with us on the stage. I would now invite Shri Sajit Sukumaran, Chief Operating Officer, Kudumbashree National Resource Organization, to deliver the welcome address. Sir, please.
Dignitaries on the dais and dear friends, this is a special occasion for all of us when we hold this national workshop. What we are trying to do here is to consolidate the experiences of several years of pilot programs in convergence between the Panchayat Raj institutions and self-help group movement, and then chart out a plan of action for future as this program is going for a national level rollout. This workshop was originally planned for a little earlier, at the beginning of this financial year itself. But for various reasons, we decided that we'll shift this by 2 months and complete the scoping study initially for the states, and also draw give the time to the states to draw up their state operational framework, so that we have much better clarity when we come for this workshop, and we are able to chart out the way forward in a much better and clearer way. This workshop that way is attended by representatives of 16 states, including the 14 states that are going to take up the universal rollout this year. We have states from all over the country and more states from Northeast. My responsibility is to welcome all the dignitaries and participants to the program. First of all, let me our Joint Secretary, Ministry of Rural Development, Smriti Sharan, ma'am is here. She will be sharing the perspective of Ministry of Rural Development on the national rollout of PRI-CBO Convergence and what it means to the country and the communities. I welcome you, ma'am, to this national workshop. We have S.M. Vijayanand, retired Chief Secretary of the Government of Kerala, who was also the Secretary of Ministry of Panchayati Raj, Government of India. I would say the creator of this whole program of convergence, the guiding force behind the convergence between the self-help group movement and the Panchayati Raj institutions. He will be talking to us on in a little detail on how we go about doing this convergence, implementing it across the country, and also how we localize the sustainable development goals as part of the program. I welcome you, sir, to this workshop. Shri Sunil Kumar, Secretary, Ministry of Panchayati Raj, will be joining us online from Delhi. In fact, we were expected to have secretaries also attending this session here, but because the parliament session is beginning soon, our secretaries will be joining online. Still, he will be speaking to us from Delhi. I welcome Sri Sunil Kumar IAS, Secretary MOPR, to this national workshop. Our Secretary of Ministry of Rural Development, Sunil Kumar IAS, will also be joining online. We had a plan to shift this workshop to Delhi in between because the parliament session was also announced. But again, somehow we decided to have it in Kerala to facilitate some fieldwork also in this. That's why Sunil Kumar, our secretary, could not attend this function physically. I welcome Sri Sunil Kumar IAS, Secretary MORD, to this national workshop. Joint Secretary, Ministry of Panchayat Raj, Vikas Anand, will also be joining us online from Delhi. I welcome Vikas Anand from Joint Secretary, Ministry of Panchayat Raj, to this program. We have 3 state mission directors attending this function, sharing the dais today. One is Prasad Rao, CEO of Tripura Rural Livelihood Mission. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I said our secretary's name wrongly. I suppose sorry for that. Ministry of Rural Development Secretary is Sailesh Kumar Singh. I welcome Sri Sailesh Kumar Singh, Ministry of Rural Development Secretary, to this function. Sorry for that. We have SMDs. Prasad Rao, CEO of Tripura Rural Livelihoods Mission, attending this function. I welcome you, sir, to this national workshop. We have Imtinala, Joint Secretary Rural Development and Mission Director of Nagaland Livelihoods Mission. I welcome you, ma'am, to this national workshop. We have Krishna Berua, State Mission Director of Assam, a good friend of Kudumbashree, attending this workshop. I welcome you, ma'am, to this national workshop. Usha Rani, ma'am, has been the guiding force strategizing and planning this Convergence program since the beginning. I welcome you, ma'am, to this national workshop. Sharda Muralidharan, Additional Chief Secretary of Local Self-Government Department, is expected here. She will be joining a little late because there is a program going on in around 10 kilometers away from here. She will be joining us by 12:15, and I welcome Sharda Muralidharan also to this national workshop. I use this opportunity to welcome all the entire NRLM team, all the delegates from the partner states. We also have specially invited delegates from Assam and Jharkhand. We have experts and several other participants, Kudumbashree officers, Kudumbashree district mission coordinators, all our mentors and program officers of Kudumbashree, state program officers, managers of Kudumbashree. We also have the director of Kudumbashree attending this program. I welcome you all to this national workshop. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Before we officially begin the deliberations and discussion on convergence, the Assam State Rural Livelihood Mission would like to felicitate the dignitaries on the dais. I invite Srimati Krishna Barua ma'am for felicitating the JS ma'am. I request Srimati Krishna Barua ma'am to felicitate S.M. Vijayanand sir. I request ma'am to felicitate J.S. ma'am. Now ma'am would facilitate the CEO, Tripura Rural Livelihood Mission. Ma'am would felicitate Nagaland SMD. Ma'am would like to felicitate Usha ma'am as well. Thank you so much, Assam State Rural Livelihood Mission and Krishna Barua ma'am, for such an honor. So, the token of appreciations are not stopping. So we have the Meghalaya State Rural Livelihood Society as well. So I would request our Chief Operating Officer, Ronald sir, to felicitate the dignitaries. I request sir to felicitate Shri S.M. Vijayanand sir. Request sir to felicitate Madam J.S. Sir would felicitate Tripura CEO. Sir would felicitate Nagaland SMD ma'am. Sir would also felicitate Srimati Krishna Barua ma'am, Assam SMD. Thank you so much, Meghalaya State Rural Livelihood Society. I take this opportunity to invite Ms. Smriti Sharan, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India, to share with us the key objectives of the universal rollout of PRI-CBO Convergence program. Ma'am, please.
A very good morning to all of you who've gathered here. This hall is so full of people with rich experience, a commitment to changing the grassroots and above, and it's so filled with warmth. This spontaneous felicitation that just happened is just a token of how much love we share with each other and the kind of bonds that we've shared over the years. I'm kind of new to this landscape, and I have a lot to learn. But what I'm really enthused about is that it's a great place to be in and to learn from all of you, and especially Vijayanand sir, who's like an institution in this whole scheme of things, which we call community building and building the Panchayati Raj institutions from the grassroots. Respected Secretary Panchayati Raj, Shri Sunil Kumar sir, Secretary Department of Rural Development, Shri Shailesh Kumar Singh sir. Both our secretaries have joined us virtually, and It's an honor to welcome you both, sir. Respected Vijayan, sir, who's also been the Chief Secretary of Kerala and is also ex-Secretary Government of India. But most of all, he is a repository of knowledge and experience in all that we wish to learn and to imbibe. So a very hearty welcome to you, sir, here. Sarada Muralidharan ma'am will be joining us a little later. She's Principal Secretary, DOPR, and also the ED Kudumbashree. A welcome to you, ma'am. And my dear state CEO, SMDs, SPMs, the accompanying teams, participants from Ministry of Panchayati Raj, NIRDPR, SIRD, and the state departments of Panchayati Raj who've traveled from various states to join us here, and my colleagues from the NMMU. On behalf of Ministry of Rural Development, I welcome you to this national workshop on PRI-CBO Convergence and its universal strategy rollout. Colleagues, if you will recall, as we rolled in with the suitcases yesterday, we were given a very warm welcome by the Kudumbashree team. It is our turn to welcome the Kudumbashree cohort to this workshop today. And we need to thank them for planning and holding this workshop in this very exquisite part of the country, which we call Kerala. A big round of applause for all of them. Thank you so much. The Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana National Rural Livelihood Mission, DNRLM for short, is a flagship program of the Government of India, which aims at alleviating poverty, create sustainable livelihoods, and all of this by building community-based organizations and institutions. As both Gram Panchayats and SHGs and the federations share a common objective of inclusive socioeconomic development of villages, it was recognized that a close partnership between the two, built on trust and recognition of mutual strengths, could enable us to localize SDGs and improve the development outcomes. It was envisaged that this partnership will enhance the performance, accountability, and transparency of the Gram Panchayats, that it would also bring democratic planning and decision-making process at the GP level. Recognizing this need, MORD incorporated the PRI-CBO Convergence in the DNRLM framework for fostering a formal relationship between the local self-government institutions and community-based organizations. In 2012, Kudumbashree was recognized as the National Resource Organization to support states in implementing the pilot initiatives of this convergence. 15 states have piloted these convergence projects in selected blocks and GPs of their states. Concerted efforts have been made on intensive capacity building of SHGs and VOs and sensitization of the PRIs. Pilot projects successfully activated at the CBO network to take up development activities, enhance the participation of the community in planning and monitoring the community-driven development process. It built last-mile connections and brought direct improvement in the public service delivery. As a result of these pilots, a dedicated social capital of local resource persons has been developed in each of these blocks, and they will help in scaling up the pilots and shall play a very major role in establishing the universal strategy rollout. After analyzing the impact of the existing PRI-CBO convergence, drawing lessons from the VPRP rollout across the country, MORD has decided to roll out the PRI-CBO convergence across the country in a phased manner. This universal strategy aims at four things: develop the democratic ability of the SHG Federation, increase the engagement with local governments to enhance the service delivery mechanisms. Third is to strengthen institutional platforms of convergence, and then develop a pool of state and local resource networks to facilitate the field implementation. In the current year, 17 states, all of you are present here in the room, so a big responsibility falls on your shoulders. So the 17 states present here shall be implementing the universal approach in the selected block over the next 18 months, after which the program will be scaled up in the next 2 to 3 years to all blocks by the state SRLMs. These 18 months will serve as a learning ground for the states to test the operational framework, contextualize the interventions, develop appropriate policies and systems for efficient implementation and monitoring. This workshop brings us together to show experiences, insights, and best practices. There is a half-day field visit which has been organized in the second half today, which will help us observe the tangible benefits and the impact of the PRI-CBO convergence. Also, it shall promote a deeper understanding of the practical aspects of implementing the universalization model. This workshop will also mark the formal launch of the universal rollout strategy in the states by entering into a partnership with the NRO called Kudumbashree. I seek commitment and cooperation from the CEO of the SRLMs to place dedicated teams for this initiative at all levels, revise and finalize the state operational framework, finalize the plan for baseline survey, organize the exposure visits, and then very effectively implement the program on the ground. We look forward to enrich ourselves intellectually from the guidance and experience sharing of Vijayanand sir and also Sarda ma'am, who shall be joining us in a little bit of time. So, not taking too much of your time, I wish all of us a very successful and a meaningful workshop. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you, ma'am, for your words and setting the tone for this workshop. Your words will act as a guidance for all of us during this universal rollout. I would now like to invite Shri Sunil Kumar Sir, Secretary, Ministry of Panchayati Raj, Government of India, to share the ministry's perspectives on convergence between local governments and the community institutions. Sir will be joining us over a VC. Sir, with your permission, we may start.
I'll inform you, sir.
Just sir is not muted, right? Sir is not on here.
Secretary, sir, please give us a minute. There's a technical glitch here. Check. Someone's muted, Secretary. Sort for that. Taking a question. Sir,
Sir, are you able to hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, sir. We can also hear you and we may proceed with the session. Thank you, sir. Sorry for the glitch.
So, first of all, a warm welcome to all participants in this national workshop on PRI-CBO Convergence, which is being organized by the Ministry of Rural Development in collaboration with Kudumbashree, Government of Kerala. A warm welcome to Shri S.M. Vijayanand, who, as was mentioned earlier, is an institution in himself who brings to the discussions a large repository, a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience, and a vision. So I'm sure that his guidance will be extremely useful to all participants. On the issue of PRI-CBO convergence, the foundation that was laid, say, about a decade back, and which has gained momentum in the last 7-8 years, and as was rightly mentioned, Sri Vijayanand, as Secretary Panchayati Raj, Government of India, was a key player in that. We believe that now the time has come when this convergence needs to be institutionalized, sort of accepted wholeheartedly in all parts of the country, and taken to the next level. Over the last few years, Gram Panchayat Development Plan, GPDP, has now sort of entered the lexicon. People across ministries, across departments, they are now recognizing and seeing the value in Gram Panchayat Development Plan. Likewise, the People's Plan campaign, the Vibrant Gram Sabha campaign, all these are now sort of catching the interest of other stakeholders. All of us know that the Panchayati Raj institutions are the third tier of government and a constitutionally mandated one at that. It's been over 30 years since the 73rd Amendment, and now we can say that the PRIs are at the takeoff stage. In several states, 21 states to be precise, you have more than 50% reservation for women, and the number of women elected representatives now exceeds 46%. It is extremely heartening to learn that several women leaders have risen from the ranks of self-help groups, particularly Kudumbashree, and are now occupying positions as elected representatives in panchayats at all three levels, and some are even now getting elected to the legislative assemblies. That is perhaps a fitting response to the PRI-CBO convergence, the process that was set in motion over the last 15-20 years, and in which Kerala has played a pioneering role. In recent times, both Ministry of Rural Development and Ministry of Panchayati Raj, we have been actively promoting this convergence. The role of self-help groups, their federations, in the preparation of GPDP and now Block Panchayat Development Plan and District Panchayat Development Plan is well recognized. Inclusion of VPRP, that is Village Poverty Reduction Plan, as part of GPDP has been made mandatory. But it is still a work in progress. There's a lot that needs to be done to improve the quality of GPDP, and likewise the Village Poverty Reduction Plan, so that these do not remain mere wish lists, but reflect a broader vision to transform the panchayats, to transform the community. And it is in this context that the localization of sustainable development goals, under which the SDGs were distributed among 9 themes, with theme 1, poverty-free and enhanced livelihood panchayat, being one which is directly related with the SHGs, with the CBOs. But in fact, if you will look at it, the SHGs, the CBOs, they have a role to play in attainment of almost all 9 LSDGs. I would also like to compliment the Kudumbashree team, which at the very outset, through a very effective song, dance, drama presentation, presented before us the journey of Kudumbashree. And it clearly showed that they were now active in almost all the 9 themes that are now part of LSDGs, whether it is the theme of clean and green panchayat, panchayat with socially just and socially secured panchayat, panchayat with engendered development, child-friendly panchayat, panchayat with good governance. In all these themes, the SHGs, the Kudumbashree, as it is functioning in Kerala, has shown that it has a vital role to play. I am happy to note that Kudumbashree is actively engaging with the NRLMs in all these 16, 17 states which are participating today and is playing a key role. There's a lot that has to be learned or that can be learned from the Kudumbashree experience, from the Kerala experience. I'm also happy to note that the delegates will be visiting panchayats in the afternoon and seeing for themselves as to how this convergence is coming out. At this stage, I would also like to indicate that recently Ministry of Panchayati Raj has launched the Panchayat Development Index, wherein 144 targets, 577 indicators, and 688 data points have been enumerated. And all these targets and indicators are related to the 9 LSDGs. And on these, the performance of each panchayat would be evaluated. In this exercise, we have received tremendous support from different ministries and governments, departments at the national level. And I am happy to note that all state governments, they have come forward enthusiastically and accepted this Panchayat Development Index, which is now in the process of being rolled out. It is also heartening to note, and you would be happy to know, that on 134 indicators, we are getting data directly from different portals of Ministry of Rural Development through API. So the information or the data that is being furnished from the field to the national portal will need not be again filled up for working out the Panchayat Development Index. That we have ensured we will receive the data through API from the portal of Ministry of Rural Development. So likewise, for 227 indicators out of 577, we will be receiving data through API from portals of different flagship schemes of different ministries and departments in Government of India. We intend to soon bring out the baseline report, which would reflect the position as on 31st March 2023. That will show us as to where we stand in respect of each of these 9 themes and what the panchayats need to do to improve their position on the Panchayat Development Index. I'm sure the SHGs, the CBOs, their close functioning with the panchayats, whether in the meetings of Gram Sabha or in the meetings of the standing committees of panchayats, will play a very significant role in ensuring that their panchayats score or performance on each one of these LSDGs improve or show improvement over the next few years. We believe the Panchayat Development Index will spur the panchayats into action, and with the help and support of all community-based organizations, and in particular the SHGs, they would be able to move very quickly towards realization of the LSDGs. I also believe that the partnership between panchayats and the SHGs, it needs to be formalized. In some states, panchayats have engaged SHGs as service providers, especially in the field of solid and liquid waste management. In certain other states, they are being engaged in several other activities. And in Kerala, they are being engaged for running a whole sort of plethora of programs in partnership with the panchayats. It is important that the SHGs and the panchayats, they have a clear understanding of their roles and responsibilities. We would be shortly coming up with service level benchmarks for water and sanitation. And where SHGs are engaged as service providers, they would know as to what are the benchmarks that they need to adhere to if their panchayat is to be ranked as the best as far as provision of those services are required. So it is extremely important that the service provider knows what it has to provide, what should be the quality of service, and they are accordingly paid for that by the panchayat, which is responsible for providing those services to the citizens or the residents in the panchayats. So this relationship between the SHG as a service provider and the panchayat, in the times to come, it may need to be formalized. They may need to enter into a formal contract, service contracts, so to say. Going forward, it is possible that 5 years down the line, some panchayats may enter into a partnership with these SHG federations, and there could be a panchayat SHG federation partnership in economic activities. What form it will take, that is for us to deliberate and discuss upon. But going ahead, that seems to be the logical way forward. The SHGs, in my personal opinion, would also need to take the next step forward. And at least at the federation level, some of the federation would need to transform them into companies. And the part-time employment of women members should eventually lead to full-time employment of women members, as only then will the participation of female labor force will improve, which at the moment is abysmally low in the country. So I believe that SHGs have a big role to play. They reflect or represent a sizable section of the population, their interests, their demands, which cannot be swept under the carpet for long. They need to be addressed, they need to be articulated, and the local government, through the Panchayati Raj institutions, is an apt institution which could meet these demands which are being articulated through the SHGs and the community-based organizations. So without taking too much time, we look forward to the outcome of this national workshop, wherein, as I understand, the details of the universal rollout in the next 3 years will be worked out, and in 15 states, as the Joint Secretary mentioned, they will be rolling out in entire blocks, and eventually in 2 to 3 years' time, they would be covering the entire state. And eventually, not only in 15 or 17 states, but throughout the country. It has to be a time-bound program because the extent of and the quality of PRI-CBO convergence also varies from state to state. But if we set the vision right, if we have a clear object in mind, then I am sure that is the way forward, and we would be jointly able to realize the goal that we jointly set for ourselves. So strong local government through vibrant Panchayati Raj institutions and a very strong self-help group, community-based organization reflected through their federations, and a strong partnership between them is extremely important if the country is to become a developed country in the next 20-25 years. We have achieved a lot in the last 15-20 years. Number of people, number of persons who have been brought above the poverty line is extremely creditworthy, and the role of SHGs in this entire exercise cannot be sort of minimized. They have played a tremendous role in this. So I believe this is a transformative partnership that is being put in place. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable insights and kind words. Your words on the role that community institutions can play towards localizing sustainable development goals has inspired all of us to keep doing what we have been doing and do it much better, and to move towards a formal partnership between community institutions and local governments, through which we can deepen democracy and work towards local governance and local development. Thank you so much, sir. I take the honor to invite Shri Shailesh Kumar Singh, Secretary, Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India, to address the gathering on the relevance and importance of convergence between PRIs and CBOs. Sir will also be joining us over VC. Sir, with your kind permission, we may begin.
Respected Shri S.M. Vijayanandji, the doyen of PRI-SHG Convergence movement and an inspiration for all of us. Respected Shri Sunil Kumarji, Secretary MOPR, under whose capable leadership this convergence process is progressing substantially. All the CEOs of SRLMs and other officials who have come to participate in this workshop, representatives of CBOs, Panchayati Raj institutions, and all other participants in this workshop. From our side, from the Ministry of Rural Development, we welcome all of you to this workshop. I'll just spell out basically the various steps which have been taken so far in the process of PRI-CBO convergence, on which we are going to deliberate in this workshop. In December 2015, Ministry of Rural Development and the Ministry of Panchayati Raj jointly organized a national workshop on Panchayat SHG convergence on participatory planning at Delhi to share the learnings and experiences of states implementing PRI-CBO convergence. As an outcome of the workshop, MORD and MOPR issued advisories in 2016 containing guidelines for partnership between Gram Panchayats and the SHG network of NRLM, which defines the objectives for this partnership. This partnership is envisaged to empower the poor to know, to demand and to access their rights and entitlements, include the poor and vulnerable sections of the community in the local development process and enable them to benefit from it, strengthen local democracy, making the GPs responsive and accountable, engender local level development and make it participatory and inclusive, and strengthen Gram Panchayats through citizen engagement. In 2016, through joint advisories on intensive participatory planning exercise for MG-NREGS, IPP provided a central role to SHGs and their federations in the preparation of labor budget. And as bulk of the works under MG-NREGS were implemented by Gram Panchayats, an operational linkage was brought about between these two forms of institutions. Ministry of Rural Development and Ministry of Panchayati Raj have from 2018-19 mandated for SHG's demand plan to be integrated with the GPDP of the state. The VPRP preparation process, formats, and its integration into GPDP has been prepared by MORD and is included in the document on People's Plan campaign in 2018-19 released by MOPR and MORD jointly. In this context, SHG leaders or community resource persons, that is 2 SHG members from each Gram Panchayat, have been identified and trained on the GPDP planning process in day NRLM intensive blocks in 2019-20. As we all know, based on the learnings from the Convergence pilot project, VPRP was redesigned to make it comprehensive and inclusive, which has been implemented extensively across the states in all NRLM entered GPs since 2020 onwards. Based on the feedback received from the states to address the challenges of integration, the whole process of preparing plans by the SHGs and their federations has been digitized through the VPRP planning mobile application. Last year, the livelihoods component was further upgraded to include the comprehensive village livelihoods planning tool, which serves as a tool for seasonal and annual livelihoods planning for each household and village level, which helps not only input into the GPDP process, but also helps the SRLMs and their CLFs to plan their livelihood intervention. We have witnessed in the last 3 years of VPRP rollout the various challenges of PRIs, recognizing the role of SHGs in this planning process, and thereafter in getting the demands accepted and included into GPDP. To address the challenges of acceptance of SHG demand plans by the PRIs, they need to be oriented and sensitized, for which NIRDPR through its SIRDs, NRO, and SRLMs, they need to design and conduct joint trainings of PRIs and CBOs on their roles in GPDP and VPRP. The two ministries have entrusted upon themselves the task of integrating the VPRP database and the GPDP EGS portal to enable the GPs to reflect the VPRP demands incorporated into the GPDP plan under various schemes and funds available with GPs. This will bring transparency in the planning and approval process. MORD and MOPR through the joint task force in MORD envisage to share the VPRP plan and demand plan with the respective line departments through sharing of user credentials with the departments for reflection of approval of the beneficiary and community level demands under their schemes, the allocation of budgets or support in kind. This will ensure better targeting and utilization of scheme benefits available, which are prioritized for vulnerable members. To streamline the convergence, states have been advised last year to create institutional platforms of joint coordination committees at state, district, and block level to discuss the convergence agenda with PRI bodies and line departments. SRLMs and CBO representatives from CLFs should also be included in these platforms. We understand that under the universal strategy, the states involved will also be forming the GP level convergence institutional platforms like GPCC, which will include the representation from Gram Panchayats, VOs, frontline functionaries of line departments, and other key stakeholders at GP level. States need to work towards making these forums functional. While SRLM shall be engaged in capacity building of CBOs, SIRDs with support of DOPR and their SRLMs, shall play a significant role in the program by redesigning the training for sensitizing the PRIs, especially the women elected representatives. This program will cut across the different domains of SRLM and would need each of the domains, whether it is livelihood, FI, FNHW, gender, and IB, to come together and work jointly to achieve the goals of the program and help CBOs draw benefits for their members in strengthening their quality of life and livelihoods from the convergence efforts. As way forward, SHGs are to participate in standing committee, CLF as part of joint coordination committees at block and district level, and get information, sanctions, implementation, coordination, etc. done. This workshop will attempt to sum up the on-ground experiences of case NRO, multiple stakeholders from all pilot states present here today, Kerala community networks and PRI bodies, and impact of the PRI-CBO convergence project in these states across diverse regions of the country, the methodology used, processes followed, challenges, and success stories and put forward a new perspective for universalizing these measures both at the central and state level. I wish this workshop all success. Thank you.
On behalf of everyone present here, I thank you, sir, for your remarks and taking us through the journey of Ministry of RD over the years to strengthen this partnership. Thank you, sir, for also highlighting the importance of institutional platforms for convergence, which will act as a guiding force for this universal rollout of PRI-CBO convergence. We have recently gotten to know that Shri Vikas Anandji, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Panchayati Raj, Government of India, will join us tomorrow post lunch. So we'll have his session tomorrow, and we are looking forward to have sir over here and to have deeper discussions on PRI-CBO convergence. It is with great pleasure that I invite JS ma'am to release Kudumbashree NRO's publication that encapsulates the transformative journey of the PRI-CBO Convergence project titled Convergence Chronicles, Experiences from 15 States, by handing it over to SM Vijayanand sir. Thank you. To formally initiate the partnership between the state SRLMs and Kudumbashree NRO, we have the honor of inviting representatives from few of our states here to partake in the MOU signing process. The MOU signing for the remaining states will take place at a later stage once the state operational framework has been finalized and the MOU also has been finalized. I would take this opportunity to first invite our director, Kudumbashree, Shri Anil P. Antony, to be on the dais, sir, for the MOU signing. I invite Shri Prasadarao Vadarapu, CEO, Tripura Rural Livelihood Mission, to come forward for the MOU signing of Tripura. Sajid. I request Sajid sir to also come to the dais. Can we clear the table? I invite all the dignitaries for the photo session. Thank you so much, sir. Next, I invite Srimati Imtinalla ma'am, Joint Secretary, RD Department and SMD, Nagaland State Rural Livelihood Mission, for the MOU signing. Sir and ma'am are here. We'll have the photo session for Nagaland. Thank you. I now invite Mrs. Kalyani Gupta, Deputy CEO, HPSRLM, for the MOU signing. Ma'am, please. Have the photo session for Himachal Pradesh. I now invite Sri Ronald, Chief Operating Officer, Meghalaya State Rural Livelihood Promotion Society, for the MOU signing. Thank you, sir. I now take the opportunity to call Savitri ma'am from Puducherry State Rural Livelihood Mission for the MOU signing. We'll have the photo session for Puducherry SRLM. Thank you so much to Tripura, Nagaland, Himachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, and Puducherry. We shall now break for tea. We have also curated an exhibition to showcase the journey of PRI-CBO convergence across 15 states. We hope the exhibition and the publications presented in the exhibition will throw light on the impact of the convergence program over the past 10 years. We also have product stalls put up by our Kudumbashree units on herbal products, handicraft products, spices, honey, coffee, handloom, and food products. The spices, honey, and coffee are from the Attapadi special ME units, so you may visit the stalls. We shall gather back for the rest of the ceremony at 11:40 a.m. Thank you. There's no one I can turn to. Takes time. We are like the none. I think that I'm right. The time and that's what I have. I request everyone to please gather back and message your state representatives as well to join. We have some very important sessions remaining as well. Alka. Please kindly ask your state representatives to join us back. We are running short of time. Okay, we shall resume the second half of the workshop. I kindly request everyone to please be seated. As we mark the beginning of the technical sessions of this workshop, we will have lighting of the lamp ceremony for the technical session. I request the dignitaries to come back to the dais. I request JS Madam. I would request SM Vijayanand Sir, Usha Ma'am, SMD Assam, CEO Tripura, and SMD Nagaland to kindly join us for the lighting of the lamp ceremony. Thank you, everyone. You may join the stage for the next sessions. You may join with the rest of the audience downstairs for the rest of the session. We'll move on to the technical sessions. It is with immense pleasure that I invite Shri SM Vijayanand, former Chief Secretary, Government of Kerala, to share the pathways of collaboration between the Ministry of Panchayati Raj and Ministry of Rural Development. Shri SM Vijayanand sir, having worked with both the ministries in different capacities, will also be able to throw light upon how the collaboration between the institutions can localize the SDGs. Sir, with your permission, we may begin.
Friends, I've been given 20 minutes to present my points. This lecture of mine normally takes 3 hours. So I'll have to collapse the whole thing in 20 minutes or maybe 2-3 minutes more. And I've been doing this for a very long time for the last 10 years. I remember in 2012-13, beginning after a great struggle, we got one chapter put in the NRLM framework, just 2-3 pages. And later, we had a big workshop in Ranchi. I don't know whether any of you had participated. There's no presentation, just let the heading be there. So that'll take a long time. This presentation will be distributed. So kindly go through it. It has evolved over 10 years. So what I prepared in 2013, I added some points last week. So kindly go through it at leisure. I'll just give the important points. So I'm very happy at this thing because over 10 years, I thought it's too long. Now I realize 10 years is not too long a period in government. And it has finally come through. And I should congratulate both MOPR and MORD, particularly MORD for taking the bold decision for universal rollout. Otherwise, we're saying pilots and all that. Now it is universal rollout, and states have accepted. So, and it's good to see two ministries working together. Having worked in Government of India for 8 years, it's not easy for two ministries to work together. It's not easy for two joint secretaries to work together in the same ministry. And I have actually experienced a joint secretary handling two subjects will not work. They will not converge. So I'm not giving real life examples. I have a lot of real life examples. So this convergence we speak, but it's very difficult to practice. So this will promote convergence. Convergence from below through a process of demand. Convergence from above is not that easy. So a lot of philosophical things I will skip. You can read from my thing. But I can assure you from my experience, don't think I'm speaking from the Kerala experience. I'm speaking from a national experience where I was there from 2012 to 16. Though for 3 years I was in MORT, I was looking after panchayats from MORT. And I can say this is a win-win situation. I just cannot understand why states miss this partnership right from early days of NRL. It should have come automatically. Nobody need to fear anything. Only both will win, nobody will lose. Take my word, if anybody loses, just give me a ring. This point, there is a problem. There will be problems. But SHGs will gain and the panchayats will gain. It's not that one alone will gain. And lot of points are there, go through it. The need for partnership. I've given 5, 6 slides on the need for partnership. Simple need. Not the philosophic need of strengthening local democracy, strengthening accountability, and all that. But I have one big philosophical point, that is Ambedkar's concept of social democracy. The panchayats represent political democracy, deliberative democracy, and the SHGs represent social democracy. And there is another word, you may not have heard of it, called communicative democracy. Communicative democracy means people know what they are doing and then they take decisions, like not that they will vote. The other is that. So that is a philosophical point. More important is a practical point. Let's not be too philosophical and idealistic. What is the kind of money which is going to panchayats these days? 3.5 lakh crore over 5 years, approximately. And Narega, 5 lakh, minimum 5 lakh. So the budget may be small, it will be 5 lakh over the next 5 years. So 8 lakh crore, mostly with the Gram Panchayats. Should not the poor access these resources? What is the credit going to the SHGs every year? I think it is now close to 1 lakh crore. But you must remember this 1 lakh crore is a lot of hidden things. This repayment of loan is adjusted. So real fresh loan should be around 50, 60,000 crores. So when women can access 60,000 crore of grants once in 2 years at least, why should I not attempt? That is the proposition for this partnership. Then of course, panchayats also will gain a lot. Women groups can be service delivery agency, as was mentioned. They can strengthen Gram Sabha. They can give feedback to panchayats. They can carry out what is called extension. Those of you who have worked in development, I don't know whether you remember the word extension. It used to be very, very popular in the 1950s, 60s. And India developed through extension. What is Green Revolution? Pure extension. A message in the lab taken to the people, and you make people change their behavior. People even change food habits. Keralites never ate wheat. In the 50s, just because of food scarcity, rice scarcity, the Mahila Samajams, the earlier version of the SHGs, went to women, made local dishes using wheat. And now you'll find wheat is used in every house, even for typical Kerala dishes, not for chapati. So if you can change the dietary habit through extension, you can change a lot of other things. Dietary habit is the most difficult to change. So extension is a very important thing. Extension agencies of the panchayat, taking a development message to the panchayat. They can do so many things. I've written them down, so I'm not repeating them. but this joined up act, where can you do something? Of course, women do this for panchayats, panchayats do this for SHGs. Together, can you not do something? Yes. Because a very important point was made by Secretary saying that departmental convergence. Most departments except Kerala are not under the control of panchayats, even in Karnataka. So these departments are outside the Panchayat Raj setup. How to access their services? Sort out grievances with them. As was mentioned, rights and entitlements. So if you partner with panchayats, you have a greater possibility of taking it to higher levels and getting this done. So you're working together to bring local grievances to the attention of authorities, create demand for local development. Panchayat handles only a fraction of the funds spent locally. So a collective demand, a democratic demand. Panchayat is elected members. SHG is probably 50% of the population in the poorer locations or 60% of the population. And of course, the larger thing which I mentioned. But there are a lot of reasons why panchayats and this SHGs have not cooperated. One is the origin of the project. It came from a World Bank project. And World Bank, there are two theories. Community-based development and local government-based development, they didn't believe till recently. And they push community-based development, bypassing elected local governments. Till we realize that this is unconstitutional. So they used to push in the community-based and all that. But why we all prefer community-based development to local government-based development? A lot of reasons. Some of them justified, some of them fears. Pardon me for saying something. We are all very comfortable with SHGs. We are not very comfortable with Gram Panchayats. So officials, SHG will be obeying anybody. We all say women's empowerment, but when an NRLM officer goes, the SHGs treats them like a feudal lord. Even in Kerala, even in Kudumbashree. But panchayats will never do that. They think that they are a local government and they will talk to the collector also as equals. Not only in Kerala, everywhere. So we are not very comfortable with that panchayats. Second, that is a positive thing. That's a thing. The other is panchayats are very difficult to deal with. They don't have the capacity. They may take long time to do. So World Bank project, 3 years, these are the deliverables. You can't do it through panchayats. So you need a SHG system. Panchayats will be a little messy and they will play around. There's corruption, a lot of negative things also. So there was a fear that working with panchayats will corrupt NRL. So when I was trying to incorporate the 2 pages into the NRLM framework, a lot of fears were expressed. Our attention will get distracted. What is our attention? Thrift and credit and saving. Yeah, thrift is savings. Our attention is not development. Shouldn't the attention be development rather than thrift and credit is a small portion of development coming out of poverty. But unless you access all the development things, it's no development. What did COVID teach us? COVID taught us that health is part of livelihoods. I'm not mentioning names. A senior livelihood functionary, I will not mention where. I said health, public health, not the curative health. And NRLM should push. Is more important than the gender agenda. Then I got the reply, that is for the health department to act on. From a very top functionary, not a... So if you understand livelihoods, what affected livelihoods most in India in the last 5 years? COVID. So public health is very important. Out-of-pocket expenditure, everything is important. So the savings from public health will be much more than the savings from your thrift. So these are simple lessons. I'm not getting there, I'll get into the formal thing. And a caution, since I am from Kerala cadre and I worked here for a very long time, whenever I go and make a presentation, they'll say, sir, it'll work in Kerala, it'll not work in our state. It's a common thing I've got, but let me tell you, I'm not going to give you the Kerala experience. It's very little difficult to do. But find out how Kerala did it. The structural relationship between the SHG and this thing. And there's a conscious decision in 1997. We will work together, but not one under the other. That's an important principle. They will not work under the panchayats and panchayats will not work under the SHGs. We will work together for common good. It's a rule-based working. It's not that casual kind of working. Of course, it has to evolve and relationships are very important, but it has to be a rule-based structured partnership. Unless you have that, this will not work. Who will do what? We will not know. So financial linkages, development linkages, geographical linkages, institutional linkages, we can develop it, and all of them will be state specific. And Kudumbashree experience has been positive, very positive. Exact number I forget, but at least 1/3 of the elected members of local governments are from Kudumbashree background. And Kerala has 54% women in the. So what does it say? Somebody who has gone through the SHG route, all the meetings, this thing, prepared the poverty reduction plan. When she gets into the, it's in the Jilla Panchayat also, up to the Gram Panchayat. She gets into the Jilla Panchayat. Of course, when we become very powerful, we forget our past, but you can't forget certain kinds of your past. So she will have a gender sensitive approach, pro-poor approach automatically. When the number is so hard, 1 or 2 persons will not make a difference. When the number is, and very happily discussing with my friends in different parts of the country, I find willy-nilly in most states, even where Panchayat is weak, lot of Panchayat members are from SHG background, like Bihar, Andhra Pradesh, willy-nilly, nobody asked them. So this is a very, very positive kind of thing, and that was seen in Kerala. Okay. Now, there are certain first principles. Panchayats are local governments. SHGs are community-based organizations that I mentioned. So you have to have that very, very clear thing. The autonomy of the panchayat is protected. You will not, governments will be very tempted to use the SHG against the panchayat because panchayats are political. SHGs are supposed to be ruling party things everywhere, whichever be the party, when even when the party changes. So it's a very strong temptation to thwart local democracy. In Kerala, it is a real possibility. So we made it a ring fence in such a way that government can't play one against the other. Kerala has political panchayats, just as you must have read in today's papers about the panchayat elections in West Bengal. They're all the same party, NDA, UDF, LDF. It's very tempting for government to play the CDS against the GPs. Never. Nobody has tried. Nobody will try because it is structured that way. The first principles are very clear. So you should lay down the first principles. In your GO itself, nowadays, modern laws, if you read a modern law, like let's say the Juvenile Justice Act, it lists out the principles. So your government order should start with the principles. So that people understand why the partnership will say you do this, link it. No. This should come out with a principle. They can, as I told you, a lot of things can be done, what SHGs can do, what this thing to do. But now I will come to the most important part of my talk, what the states should do. And I was part of a committee set up by MORD on the HR of panchayats. It's a very high level committee. Mr. Sumit Bose, Mr. Jugal Mohapatra was my predecessor in MORD. Then Secretary Amarjit, all of us were there. And we found out in most parts of India, HR of panchayats is abysmally weak. More so in the poorest parts of India. So there's a huge mismatch. Panchayats are weak. There's no staff. There's nothing. So we have a huge problem there. But SHG working can also give HR functions, extension, campaigns. Even writing the accounts is possible if you train the SHGs. So CRPs can fill up many of the capacity gaps of Gram Panchayats. But the Gram Panchayats, I'm not talking about other levels of. So how do you, now I'll quickly list out the action points by states. First, very simple points. It has to be context specific. The fifth schedule, and you have areas like Bodoland, Darjeeling Council, local areas. You need to have a separate system. You can't have a common system. And some states without panchayats. So you, like Meghalaya, you need to have a panchayat equivalent. The ideal thing is whoever is doing GPDP will be the panchayat equivalent, even if there is no elected Gram Panchayat. Then let's not over prescribe. At the same time, the framework should be very clear. There should be a lot of space for evolution, local innovation. We tend to prescribe these days. That's not very good. And don't just study the Kerala model. NRO will tell you the experience of 10, 12 other states. And maybe in your state also. Informally, there has been some experience. Many states, there's an informal relationship between SHGs and panchayats. Find out. And that should guide you. Then there is a favorite technique of mine. Sharda, pardon me for repeating it umpteen time. What I call right shop. Things which will take years to develop in government can be developed in 3 days if all of you sit together. So who should sit together? Your NRLM people, Panchayat Raj people, good panchayats, good GPLFs, and maybe civil society, activists, academics, SARD people, sit together, locked in a room for 2 to 3 days till you come out with what panchayats can do in our state, what SHGs can do, what are the cautionary things, what has been the experience so far in a 20, 30 page simple guideline. Without that, I'm sure nobody, however talented, will come out with an action. So let that be the first step. Probably MOPR and MORD, NRLM can facilitate. They can send people, observers, and do this. So this can be done in 3 days flat. It has to be very intense. And you are writing out the government order. You're not writing out a recommendation. You're actually writing out a government order, which means the Secretary of the State or CEO of the NRLM and the head of the Panchayat Raj person should be there, at least in the beginning and in the end, to understand. This goes straight as a ready-made thing to the Secretary or to the HOD to refer it to the Secretary for a formal issue, of course, with minister's approval. Otherwise, this is not going to happen. We spent 10 years, we'll spend another 10 years trying to come out with the other pictures. And while this work, we can't have 2 right shops. It's not easy to organize. Once you develop a draft guidelines, you should also develop a rudimentary action plan for the state. What is an action plan? Time limits. Who will do what? What will be the resource requirements? What are the risks? How will you mitigate risks? All this you can put it very, very easily. It doesn't take a long time. It's one of the simplest commonsensical. So you do that. An action plan for the state for rollout. And 3 years is the time suggested by MORD. We can easily do it 3 years. So this, and how do you do it? It's a kind of hub and spoke. Resource clusters. You certainly cannot convert all the panchayats into excellent partnerships. Resource clusters. How was NRLM rolled out? I was in Delhi at that time. Nobody knew how to roll out NRLM. Suddenly, some brainwave said resource clusters. Invest all your energy, resources in some place, develop, and I can tell you from experience all over India, panchayats learn better from other panchayats, not from us. SHGs learn better from other SHGs, not from us. So if you are able to develop in typical way, because a state is a large place, so typical areas, there will be a very backward place, there will be a law and order place, so many things, so many classifications, develop resource clusters. There, I think NRLM and MOPR also should come in, because it has to be properly guided. Then, that's very easy, very difficult, though I'd been advising right from 2012. Congruence between SHG federations and the GPs. It doesn't exist in most parts. Now you can't cut it also because of credit requirements. So whoever is a GPLF, they are lucky. Those who don't have a GPLF, I think Sharda should prescribe a solution. I really don't have a solution. If your GPLF is more than 2 panchayats, half a panchayat, you have a lot of problem because you become weak in your relationship with panchayats. So do something to get a cluster which is coterminous with a gram panchayat. And set up a forum for regular interaction. Initially just chatting, maybe small talk. And that should be all the GPLF members and all the elected members of the GP. And it can be part of the GP meeting. After the GP meeting, 1 hour interaction with the GPLF. This will enhance mutual understanding, even if nothing else. And give women some confidence in interacting with the local power. Then, make the GPLF leaders members of all committees in the village, whether it is under the panchayat or not. And it was suggested that you make them a member of the standing committee. That, I'm afraid, may not be possible in most states. Some states have provision for nomination to standing committee, but otherwise standing committee is a subcommittee of the Gram Panchayat. So you cannot nominate. But there are functional committees for different functions. So GPLF, you can't, is not advisory, is mandatory. Should be a member of all these committees to GPDP, etc., which I don't want to take time on. They should be members of institutional management committees. Anganwadis, hospitals, all of them have institutional management committees. So GPLF will get represented. Panchayat also automatically should be represented. Then I strongly support RP for this Panchayat partnership, who is well versed in this partnership, who will guide the SHGs, DDs on how the partnership should work out. Train them for 1 week, 2 weeks, take them to Panchayats, expose them to Panchayats, tell them what Narega is, tell them what GPDP is. Then they know. Otherwise, what will you ask in GPDP? You'll ask wishful things. So a CRP, well-trained, who understands Panchayats, by sitting with Panchayats maybe for 2 weeks, is very, very critical for this partnership to emerge. Then, something which we decided in Ranji 10 years back, Panchayat partnership will be one of the mandatory sutras of the SHG. Whether you have a Dasa Sutra or Pancha Sutra, one should be local governance, partnership with Panchayats. So that what is the meaning? You discuss every week. In a minute, nothing. This year, nothing to do with Panchayat. But it is minuted, discussed every week as a mandatory sutra. Similarly, Narega also should be part of the sutra. You can just combine it with Panchayat. Otherwise, much pending arrears, whatever things your women's group should write. This is very simple. The states can do it. Then a structured capacity building program. 2 or 3 minutes on that. How do you build the capacity of these two? One, resource cluster and learning from each other. CRP. Maybe you can use cluster facilitation teams if good CSOs who believe in this partnership are there. Of course, many good CSOs would be happy to work with this CBI, CBO Panchayat partnership. And also, joint training is very useful. Independent training, certainly, yes, but our experience in Panchayat Raj in Kerala, the doctor and the Panchayat President Health Standing Committee, together if you train them, it is much better. So you do independent training and also joint training of GPLF and the GP members, so that a lot of things can be sorted out, mutually understood on the spot. Then Mahila Sabhas and Bal Sabhas, they exist in some form all over India. They could also be linked to this partnership, so that Mahila Sabhas will ensure the Gram Sabha and all that. And I would say, which Kerala is now trying, SHGs of persons with disabilities, SHGs of elders, which NRLM has been promoting at least for 10 years, I remember, slow moving, need to be brought in so that you broad base the SHG movement, and the link with the Gram Panchayat also becomes broader. Then a very, very important point. Have I run out of time? Another 2, 3, 5 minutes. Very important point. Listen carefully. How do you link VPRP with the GPDP? Accepted in policy by both both the ministries of Government of India. Recently, I saw, I'll not mention states because you may be here, how VPRP was being prepared. An app is there. So somebody from NRLM, basically the block resource person, goes to women and says, what do you want? So women say, I want a well, I want this. Women gave this thing and you have millions of requests. So I asked the women, what was your plan? I don't remember what I said. Somebody came and asked me. I said, this is what I want. We never discussed it. It's a kind of violation of the Government of India guidelines. But let me tell you, any planning, whether it be at national level or at the Gram Sabha level, should be negotiation. There will be a lot of opposition. Then you say yes. Then only that's the social thing. Social thing can never be captured in IT. Post facto, after you finalize all these priorities, etc., feed it into the app or feed it into the software, but never before that. So that process, Usha, has to be prepared in detail. The process of plan preparation by the village SHG Federation. Discussion, how many discussion, who will meet, who will come, SHGs will give this list, and ultimately prioritization kind of thing. So VPRP could be a poverty sub-plan of the Gram Panchayat. And I have suggestion for 4 components. I would seriously request NRLM to discuss this, take the appropriate clearances. One, what the GPLF will do with its own resources. Voluntary resources, cluster, fund, it's called CLF, Vulnerability Reduction Fund, etc., etc. So what you will do with one simple thing, never prepare a plan for resources you have no control over. Then people will get frustrated. That's a very simple technique in planning. You will prepare a plan for resources you have command over, or after some time you will know this is what is approved. Otherwise, planning, people will not take an interest in plan. So the SHGs know what resources they will get during the financial year or can access. So that will be the first part of the plan. Second part of the plan should be with relating to MG and REGS. A simple circular from and a software tweak from MORD will help. What is it? The women should say how many percentage of work they need and when. Second, how many community assets they need, what kind of assets. Third, how many individual assets they need for whom, why. In a priority. The work requirement should automatically feed into the labor budget. And if you can capture it in your software, Narega Soft, that this is coming from the SHG, when it goes all the way to Government of India, when Government of India cuts the labor budget, don't cut the SHG budget. So the women will get the work they have asked for and their families, not for their alone. It's 100 days per family. So 3-part request will be the second thing. Third, what the women want from GPD. So they should know what the GPDP guidelines are and all that. Women will ask what we want this from GPDP. And the fourth, this is mentioned by Secretary, what we want from other departments which are not under the Panchayat. Practically all departments. ICDS, education, water supply, sanitation, lot of departments. Roads, irrigation, whatever it is. So they write it out. That's a little vague plan because you have no control, you don't know what's happening. So all these 4 plans should be in one document. Don't make it too IT compliant, then nothing will come. For example, you read Kerala's People's Plan, you will not make a sense of it because somebody wanted everything to be in the software. So it kills. You will not understand what a plan is. There will be some money here and there. So, yeah, of course, now IT tools are so developed that you can have a descriptive plan. And then, that's very important, 2 weeks ahead, you send the plan to the Gram Panchayat. Ask the Gram Panchayat to discuss the plan in detail. And then, after 2 weeks, let the GPLF in its full strength go and meet the full elected Gram Panchayat with officials sitting. It's a kind of negotiation, a kind of VPRP discussion. So first part is automatically not ours. MGNRG is almost automatic. Assets, of course, Gram Panchayat will say we will give priority to this asset. The third part, GPDP, we may ask for 20 lakhs. Gram Panchayat will say we will give for 5 lakhs. These are the works. That should be a mandatory step of GPDP. And that should feed into the GPDP automatically. Of course, it has to go to Gram Sabha and get validated. I don't think Gram Sabha will turn down a request made in this way. Or it can be before the Panchayat, that's left to you. And the fourth thing, you need a meeting of local level officials, which the state government has to ensure. At the Panchayat level for a group of Panchayats. If the Panchayats are too small, you can't come to every Panchayat. The fourth component is discussed. And the officers will say this can be done, cannot be done, but that also gets into the formal system. Some can be done at the block level, some can be at the district level. Above district, let's not try. And they will get back to you. Yes, you have made 35 requests, we will give you 12 requests. And that becomes. So this is the VPRP. A real VPRP for an assured resource for which you know. So this is my suggestion. You can discuss. I don't think this is group discussion, but think through it. I think it's eminently doable. And this is not my old knowledge. This is after visiting 2-3 states in the last 3 months on localizing SDGs. So try this. And the final point, you can use localizing SDGs to cement the relationship. For want of time, I don't want to explain how you can do it. NARDPR can have a quick consultation and say how localizing SDGs can bring about a closer relationship between SHGs and Gram Panchayats. We have a new concept which initially was given to me, I should acknowledge. I think somewhere he's here. Mr. Jagajeevan. He told me, sir, why not communitizing SDGs? Government doing SDGs, going down to local governments and going down to the community, which is SHGs. Largely SHGs. Again, I can send you a concept note. We have jointly developed one, but it's still hazy, which essentially means the women understand what is an SDG and how to, as was mentioned, your entitlements. I need to send every child to school. I need to get vaccinated. I need to get women's your RCH service in the CHC. These are demands. So women know what are the SDG kind of thing. Probably they can do. Then another thing that the state government has to do, again indicative but fairly clear, what kind of services can be outsourced to SHGs without a tender? Many states have very rigorous procurement law and panchayats will come under procurement. So can you give solid, and how do you fix the rates? Some states have given, but abysmally low rates. So it can't be less than the minimum wage. It's illegal. So, and at the same time, it has to be viable because people will not give you 500 rupees for solid waste management. So this is a very important thing. Rates to be fixed, which can be done only at the state level for each of the services which panchayat. The women should make some money, decent money, not too much money. While panchayat, they do the panchayat services. Then something which a bee in the bonnet, low cost, no cost activities, which SHGs can do, panchayats can do to bring about this partnership. Thousands of things you can write, taking children to school and ensuring non-dropout, etc., etc. Then what kind of assets of panchayats can be given to SHGs for O&M, for running, free, water bodies, markets, even buildings can be given to them. For example, Kudumbashree runs budget hotels for the panchayats. It's on behalf of the panchayat and government. So it's not their own micro enterprise. So a lot of these possibilities, preparing Anganwadi food, midday meals, a lot of things are there. And while doing this, you need a facilitation come troubleshooting arrangement at all levels, because you will have thousands of problems. But don't wait for problems to be written to you. There should be a joint NRLM Panchayat Raj group at the top level, maybe at the district level and maybe at levels below. You come, you say, you give a guidance on how to sort out teething problems. There'll be many teething problems. Some you have to give in writing, some orally. Then of course, SARDPR I mentioned, and this thing. And finally, I'll end with a big statement. Saddam Hussein once used the word, I think, mother of all wars. So I have a big statement. Mother of convergence. We are all speaking on convergence. What are the institutions? Obviously, SHGs and Gram Panchayats. What are the processes? VPRP, GPDP, labor budget preparation. And what are the programs? NRLM, MGNREGS, and 15 Finance Commission grants. Strictly, it's not a program. So you have this huge convergence which can be realized through SHG Panchayat partnership. Sorry for having taken 10 minutes more, but Sajid told me if you want, you can take 10 minutes more. Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your insights and letting us know what suggestive steps the states can take in this partnership, with, of course, necessary contextualization for the Schedule 6, 5, and the areas under State Act. Thank you for also focusing on the importance of having a collective forum at the Gram Panchayat level for having regular interactions with the local governments. Thank you so much, sir. We have with us today Madam Sharada Muralidharan, Additional Chief Secretary, Local Self-Government Department, Government of Kerala. I take this opportunity to officially welcome Madam to this workshop and to invite you to the dais. Thank you. Welcome, Madam, to the workshop. I would request Madam now to address the gathering, highlighting the genesis of the PRI-CBO convergence model and her experiences. Ma'am, with your permission, please.
Thank you. You see here on the stage, on the dais. Hi, Alice. Hello, everyone. Yeah. Two people who have been actually witness to the genesis of NRLM and who have been co-conspirators in the genesis of the GPTP. So Mr. Vijayanand had been Secretary Local Self-Government in Kerala ever since the constitutional amendment. And he was involved with it until he moved to Delhi. And he came into the Ministry of Rural Development, where he was looking after the livelihoods component. So the NRLM was developed under his watch. And then he moved on to the Ministry Panchayat of Panchayat Raj, where I was waiting. And that was when the 14th Finance Commission happened. We saw the opportunity for Gram Panchayats in the country to actually come into their own, and used it. But I would like to rewind a little bit more because Benazir has told me that I should be talking about the genesis. So, the genesis comes in multiple ways. One is the genesis of the NRLM itself. There was this planning commission then, which had commissioned a study. I don't know if you talked about it, sir? No. Credit-related issues of SGSY. And this study, so they came visiting states and they looked at, at that point of time, they decided that the erstwhile undivided Andhra Pradesh and Kerala were doing best as far as SGSY was concerned. And they wanted to see why. So that was the birth of NRLM, really, because they looked at the fact that in both states, they had federated SHGs. In both states, they had worked with missions. They had worked on mission mode, created missions. And in both states, they had always also invested very heavily in developing community human resource. So these three things were seen as what actually distinguished these two states from the rest of the country, and why SGSY was working there. So, but then they did see some differences too, because the Andhra model was against a backdrop of extremely weak local governments at that point of time. And the Kerala model was in the context of extremely powerful local governments. So the whole equation with local governments was very different in both. And therefore, at that time, the study actually commission had come out with a recommendation for NRLM. And that recommendation was that For states with strong Panchayati Raj, the Kudumbashree model could be looked at. And with states where Panchayati Raj was not strong, you could look at the Andhra model and develop. But as you know, at the start of NRLM itself, and rightly so, the focus had been on A, positioning SHGs, and B, making sure that these SHGs were networked, that you had community resource that developed out of these SHGs, that the core functioning of microfinance was streamlined, and that therefore there was this strong foundation that was created for SHGs to come into their role. At that point of time, however, this question came as to it would be states were with different states had different kinds of hunger. Some of them wanted to, some of them just wanted to, some of them wanted to explore other avenues. So, and it was difficult to look at how do you both standardize as well as allow for diverse experiences. And therefore, so while you had the big NRO at the time was about the Andhra Telangana NRO that was primarily looking at helping the SHGs form and institutionalize themselves. At that point of time, NRLM itself had multiple streams. I would know because I had also in the second year of its inception, I had gone to the Chief Operating Officer in charge of social inclusion. So what NRLM was doing at that point of time, which still continues to do. So one was of course institutionalization, the IBCB component. The second was the livelihood component, which was then focusing largely on agrarian livelihoods, but was also interested and wanted to look into the space of micro enterprises and other ancillary livelihoods outside of agriculture. And the third was looking at skills specifically. So it was the Ajivika program at that point of time, which later morphed into the DDOGKY. So while this was happening, there was also then this question of whether Kudumbashree could come in, Kudumbashree's experience could come in by way of becoming NRO. And at that point of time, Kudumbashree primarily was looking at saying that, our experience with supporting and developing micro enterprises and through the Kudumbashree mission and through the SHG network was actually unparalleled at that point of time in the state. So livelihoods would be an area that the NRO could work in. But we also felt that it was important that PRI-CBO. So remember the PRI-CBO convergence, the idea was mooted at a time before the Finance Commission grants and local governments, the panchayats got that kind of money. We still went ahead and said that there is a need for the PRI-CBO convergence. And I'm going to stop here and now go into the Kudumbashree experience. So why would Kudumbashree pitch to become a national resource organization for PRI-CBO convergence when the PRIs were very weak and the CBOs were only in their formative stages? What would be the point in doing so? And I think the important thing is, and from the learning of Kudumbashree, because what is the learning of Kudumbashree? You are working obviously with very powerful panchayats, but whether the panchayats have money or not, funds and resources or not, everywhere they are a powerful entity. It doesn't, they might be disempowered administratively, but politically and in the local space, they are change makers. They are the leaders. They are the ones whom everybody kowtows to. So you do have a very strong power structure, and very often they are representative of the power structure of the local space. And then you've got this Kudumbashree, the network of women. Who are we talking about? We are talking about women who are not really very powerful even in their own households, forget in the society. And then we are talking about poor people who themselves find it extremely difficult to ask or claim or engage with any power structure. So you're talking about combining two sets of deprivations, a gender deprivation and what do you say, financial deprivation. And then you're saying that you just put them out there and they will be able to take care of themselves and manage the big honchos of the locality. So the experience of Kudumbashree was precisely that. Does it really make a difference if women come together, poor women without voice, without resources, coming together and then actually being able to have a say in the local development that is happening around them, of being change makers, of being part of that change, of actively participating in local governance. So Kudumbashree learned how to do that. And remember, we learned to do that with the most powerful of them all. Because not only were they politically powerful and they were, openly political, because the Panchayat elections in Kerala are fought on political symbols. They're very political. So you've got the biggest power structure that you can think of sitting right there. And then you've got this network of women, and we are saying we got to make them relevant. Now, if we could do it in Kerala, it can happen anywhere. It is not an easy learning. It was a journey full of mistakes. But then, there is no need for all the country to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to. You can learn from the mistakes we made, and you can learn from the learnings that we had and take that forward. So one of the learnings that we had was, or rather two, is that, first of all, if you look at Kerala has a history of social capital. One of our biggest contributions to the country had been the Saksharata campaign. So we actually gave the country an idea of how you can run campaigns and through campaigns achieve certain objectives. So the Saksharata campaign came up, and that was way before Kudumbashree. Women were not organized into networks like that. And what did we have then? We had a large set of people who were socially committed, who had knowledge, who used the fact that we had high literacy levels anyway, and brought in students, college students, and housewives and youngsters from across various spectra, brought them together and got them into a campaign. But then after that, every single campaign, every single mass program that has been done in the state has been done through Kudumbashree. So when Kudumbashree came into its own, we found that it was very convenient also. But governments and the state uses Kudumbashree as an agency because it's there, it's vast, it's spread out. So you want to do surveys, poverty surveys, you do Kudumbashree. You want to right now, today in Kerala, we are planning to do our next round of literacy campaign, and this is digital literacy. We have given ourselves a target that by November 1, which is the birth of the state, anniversary of the state birthday. So by November 1, the entire state will be digitally literate. We see it as a poverty reduction engagement, because today's world is where everybody is Aadhaar seeded, everything, MGNR, the works, everything comes through systems, social security, pensions. We are giving all our services online. So poverty, and you would remember when Niti Aayog, when he talked about multi-dimensional poverty and try to assess poverty, they talked of poverty as access as well. So if there is poor access, the chances of poverty are high. Now, access itself is a very interesting thing. When you think of access, we generally think that we create the infrastructure, we make it available, and people will naturally use it. And it doesn't work that way. Because if you are disempowered, you do not use. You might have a school at your doorstep, but be unable to sit in it equally. So, access, there is passive access, which we are all good at, and there is active access, which we are not. So, the Kudumbashree program and network was also about increasing access, about finding how the women could actually occupy the spaces that were made available to them by the state. So Vijayanasa was talking about all these samitis. All of us know that most of these committees are paper committees, that they do not exist on the ground, or they are not strong on the ground. So Kudumbashree mission tried to say, it is already there. It is formally committed by the state. So why not we just take that space? Now, but you cannot just take over that space. It doesn't happen that way, because social capital has to be created. So therefore, there are two things that we really need to be looking at. One is creating the social capital, and the second is deploying it, making it happen. Because that is ultimately what the, how the Kudumbashree, how an SHG network can then engage with the state. So we need to have clarity about which would be the areas that we would like and how we would like them to engage. And so in Kudumbashree, the experience. So you want to run a VPRP, you want to get them into GPDP, you want to get this convergence and make the Anganwadi system sit down and listen to the women SHG when they're speaking. First of all, we have to enable the SHG to think bigger than microfinance. Microfinance is empowering, yes. And it was very critical, because that is the cement that brings the women together and keeps them there. But it is not enough. It is not enough to make women truly empowered, because for truly empowered, they have to fight, they have to be able to break through these hierarchies and power systems, the local elite everywhere. And in order to be able to do that, they would need to, what they cannot do individually, they should be able to do as a collective. They should be able to occupy the spaces which have been made available to them. And we need to invest in helping them develop those capabilities. The year was 2007. And in Kerala, we wanted, this was the time of the 11th five-year plan in Kerala. And the 11th five-year plan was focusing on local economic development. I don't know if you recall that, sir. I do recall, because we were then, Kudumbashree was then trashed by the planning board for exceeding its brief. But what we did at that point of time was we said that, local governments in Kerala at that point of time were not really involved or interested in agriculture, in development. They were just not really paying attention. So something happened. So it was just a big mishmash. And the assembly, in the assembly, there was even talk of taking that money away from the local governments because they were not delivering. So that is when Kudumbashree said, you should use the 11th five-year plan as an opportunity. And we conducted regional workshops in which we got the Gram Panchayat presidents, the standing committees, the officers, and the women of Kudumbashree to sit together at a table and discuss development issues. Very interesting, because the impact of that was far more than we did it just you're just doing it, but the impact was very interesting. So many women came and said, madam, for the very first time they listened. So things that we think are very simple sometimes might end up being game changers. They listened. They respected the fact that I was sitting at the table with them, the fact that the mission was facilitating this, the fact that the mission was ensuring that if I had to say something, I was listened to, that they would, they would not be allowed to just, blow over me and bulldoze me. And then they started listening. And when they started listening, they realized that I had an experience which was relevant, that I could contribute to this discussion, that I brought in an understanding of problems and also an understanding of solutions that actually would work. So, that was the beginning of our exercise of capacitating women to basically develop voice in the community. How do you get women? So we realize that maybe, all these personality development, this, that training doesn't work. It's more about getting experiential learning. So we started devising ways and means of how it is that the women would be listened to within the Gram Sabha. We actually trained women because our women were members of the working groups of the Gram Sabhas, of the panchayats. So we trained them, and we started getting the officers also to sit down with them. And the mission, by virtue of it being a state mission, field officers will listen. They will come in. And slowly, some of these field officers also realized, अरे यार, इनके हमारे साथ जोड़ने से, we are actually going to improve our performance. We are going to improve the reach of our work. And so, Animal Husbandry Department, Agriculture, Agriculture, WCD, all of these suddenly found that there are opportunities here of using this network. And that's what we need to do. It's not just the panchayats that we need to convince. We need to convince the departments too. We need to convince them that SSA is going to work better. You bring these women in, that your nutrition interventions are going to work better, that they are going to be eyes and ears, but they're also going to be active participants and make things happen on the ground. That's strength. And the moment you start doing that, and the moment you start becoming relevant, that is when you start developing power. And that is when you are able to, you can hold your own in the way, no matter who it is and how it is. Because the state has given you the framework and you have developed the capability and you've been given space, you know how to work that space. So that's what PRI-CBO Convergence is about. In the GPDP, we saw elements of that. It was interesting to see. So now I'm going to be talking about the Gram Panchayats too. We think of Gram Panchayats as not really capable of delivering much. I have had the opportunity in the early days of GPDP to travel across many states, listen to various things coming up. And I remember in the state of Assam, there was this panchayat that fascinated me. It had got it's in Nagaon. It had got an award earlier for being a senior citizen-friendly panchayat. And this award was again pre-GPDP. But then come GPDP. So when I visited the panchayat, the next thing that they were actually looking at is, here you had a panchayat, very small panchayat. They had only about 10 members or so. And they didn't have much resources with them. But with the resources they had, they said, literacy. We are 60% literate. We are going to make sure that in 1.5 years' time, they had worked it out, that we are going to become 100% literate. And I visited them at something like 7:30 at night. I was coming back from various other visits. And when I go and see them, it was just so empowering to see that it was a male Gram Panchayat president, but he called women Panchayat members, and every single women member was so strong and confident because this Panchayat president on his own had inspired them to just take responsibility. So these members were, they had identified their Saksharata Preraks. The members were the ones who were going behind households, convincing people to come and attend the classes. They were the ones who were giving feedback of the classes that were not working. They would listen in and get a sense and be giving feedback. And so each of these members had stories to tell about how they were being part of the change. And they were all very inspired to do that. And I'm saying it's not about the money. It doesn't matter. Do not think of your panchayats as disempowered. Think of them as social capital. And think of the fact that these women are also social capital. And you bring these two different capabilities of social capital together, you can work wonders. I remember that we had also in Chhattisgarh, when we had gone to do this GPDP training, discussion on GPDP and how to take that forward. We had a field visit organized around that time. So, the kind of pitch that we were making for was to get the state to look at where is it weak and how can you use your social capital to overcome that weakness. So Chhattisgarh in those days had the unhappy reputation of having some of the greatest malnutrition in the country. But the state had already taken interventions to address this malnutrition. And how was that? And what did we get to see? So we go to a Gram Panchayat, and there, so again, the Panchayat and the SHG network has no command or control over the resources that are coming in for nutrition and management. But what they did have power over was about monitoring and feedback. So it was interesting to see, the panchayats talking about what was coming whenever there was a breakdown in supply, how they intervened and brought attention to the officers concerned and address that. Then the women of the SHG network come in and they talk about, the various kinds of rice that they are getting. What rice they are getting, the quality of it, what they need, the demands that. So there was this big negotiation happening in that local space, and the department could not but respond. And this happen anywhere and should happen anywhere and everywhere. There are so many services which are available to people, and I'm mentioning about access. Just because they are available will not mean that they will be availed of. In order to avail them, you need that social capital to be strong out there and to make sure that it comes to them. And this is an opportunity. The PRI-CBO Convergence is about an opportunity of making that happen. One other example in another panchayat in Assam, again, because Assam was fascinating at that point of time. Assam was taking the lead in GPDP. So this was a panchayat where, they were talking about how, because of the resource crunch in the schools, there were no teachers. And without teachers, they were very worried about the future of their children. Because what happens if, 10 months down the line, a teacher comes, the child has lost that time, and that is precious time, and it cannot be made up for, compensated. So then they were all coming together. They were identifying. So the community came together and identified amongst themselves youngsters who were free, but who had some level of education. And they got them to discuss the curriculum, and they actually organized and set up teachers so they put up this semi-formal system of learning. The youngsters were not trained, but this is better than not having anybody at all. They actually worked out a system by which the young children could be trained and taken through their lessons in class. So we find that ultimately on the ground, many people want to find solution. The local government also wants to find solution. The local government wants to deliver. It will want to take credit for that delivery. And that is yet another secret that Kudumbashree found, which was that the CBO and the Panchayat can work together, but the credit should always go to the Panchayat, no matter what. Because you give the credit to the Panchayat, they will be happy to continue to associate with you. You take the credit, they will want to throw you down, pull you down. So these are all lessons we have. And, so the universalization would be about, for us, from all corners of the world, from different experiences, to be able to come together and say, this works, this doesn't. And also to realize and to believe that PRI-CBO convergence is possible and is needed. Today, when we are looking at the state, the country needs to reclaim its position in gender equity. We need to be seen as a gender sensitive state, a country. We need to ensure that the poorest of the poor amongst us are also part of the discourse, of the national discourse. We talk of ourselves as aspirational. So we need to be able to make sure that everybody can aspire to what they want and that the system provides for it. And here we have, on the ground, we have two powerful institutions. What happens if they work together? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your experiences from multiple states and touching upon the power of the SHG collectives and how the collectives have come forward and worked with the Gram Panchayats. I thank you so much for this session. Since we are running short of time, we will have the presentation on universal rollout and the experiences from the pilot states tomorrow. So right now we will break for lunch, but before we break for lunch, I would like to brief about the field visit that we will be having in the second half today. So we have arranged field visits to 6 Gram Panchayats which are nearby, and we will be interacting with 6 community development societies also, which is the highest level of SHG federations in Kerala. So we need to note down few things that we must focus during the field visit. One is that we'll have to observe the functioning of Bud School, Anganwadis, and Anganwadi monitoring and support committees. You will get to know a little bit more about this during the field visit, but a little bit focus must be placed on understanding these concepts better. Observe the infrastructure or facilities available to these provided by the Gram Panchayats, how the SHG network are playing an important role in ensuring that these services are being, reaching the rightful beneficiaries. The staff and beneficiaries, the staff of the panchayat, the staff of the institutions and beneficiaries of these programs to understand the impact of the program. Observe the role of line departments, panchayat and Kudumbashree network in ensuring the impact of a particular program. So that is the major focus that we have to place, how convergence can bring together, a successful initiative. So we will be meeting with beneficiaries of few of these programs that I had mentioned. We can also go through their serious action plan that they prepare, the functioning of the evaluation committee, which we call by the term Gram Panchayat Coordination Committee in the partner states. There is the program of Destitute Free Kerala that is being implemented in Kerala, so you can understand a little bit more about that. The various citizens committee, the Anganwadi monitoring support committee, village health sanitation nutrition committee, which in Kerala we call it as ward health sanitation and nutrition committee. So you can understand the functionings of these committees as well, and interactions with the CDS and panchayats have also been scheduled. So tomorrow we'll have a plenary section where we will be sharing the experiences of all the 6 groups. So there are certain topics that we will be assigning to certain groups, which we will share it with the concerned persons in the group after some time. So before that, we can take a look at where we are going for the field visit. So group number 1 will have representatives from MORD, it is MOPR, Shlokarth ji, and from NIRD, Dr. Pratyushna Patnaik, and Arunachal and Tripura team will be joining them, and we'll be going to Venganur Panchayat. Next, in Balaramapuram, we'll have Anita ma'am from NMMU team, and Manipur, Mizoram, Meghalaya, Nagaland, and Karnataka team will be joining them. Balaramapuram Panchayat. We have facilitators, we have translators from our end, so please don't worry. Next, Kotukal Gram Panchayat, from the NMMU team, we have Jui ma'am. Bihar, Maharashtra, and Madhya Pradesh team would be going to Kotukal Gram Panchayat. To Kanirakulam Grama Panchayat, which is Group 4, Puducherry, Tamil Nadu team, along with Kavita ma'am. Pallichal Gram Panchayat, we have from the MOPR team Sudhasatwa Barik and NIRD Ravi Naidu sir, and Chhattisgarh and Himachal Pradesh team will be joining them. Group 6, we have Mahmood ji and the Assam and Jharkhand team will be joining the Karumkulam Gram Panchayat. So these are the 6 groups. We will be sharing the list of these groups in the WhatsApp group that has been created for travel related information. We have the bus numbers also here. We'll take out time for lunch, and exactly at 2:30 we'll have to start from here. The DMCs will also be in the group. Before lunch, all the DMCs can gather back in the hall, and we'll be dividing them in the groups. So at 2:30, we can all meet in the foyer. We'll share the group details with all of you. There will be facilitators from Kudumbashree NRO side as well as the district mission of Trivandrum. So we'll have a very good learning exercise on field and come back tomorrow and share our experience with the larger group and take this discussion of how to establish convergence forward. Thank you all. Thank you, Sharda ma'am and SMJ Anand sir. We may now proceed for lunch. Capture the QR code and fill up the details. Thank you so much. We may proceed for lunch.